What better person to introduce legislation renaming this post office than a congressman named Space? One of the really good parts of being a member of Congress, there are a lot of good parts, but one of the good parts is you get a chance to meet people like Senator and Annie Glenn. And I had the pleasure of spending some time with them last year, and I asked Senator Glenn, first of all, for permission to look into renaming a post office in my district because we're so proud of him. And he graciously offered it. And then I asked him, which one? And without hesitation, he said Cambridge. Cambridge is where he first entered his military service, the registration right here. John Glenn's story is of a great American. He is a man who has inspired not just a generation of Americans, but generations of Americans. Born one of us, right here in Cambridge, Ohio. At a young age, he moved to nearby New Concord, where he attended both high school and college. After finishing up at Muskingum, Senator Glenn answered the call to his military service. And as a Marine pilot, he served in both World War II and Korea, earning the Distinguished Flying Cross on 6 occasions and the Air Medal with 18 clusters. After leaving the military, Senator Glenn became a test pilot for the Naval Air Test Center. In 1957, he set a speed record by flying from Los Angeles to New York in 3 hours and 23 minutes. It was his experience as a pilot that led to his most celebrated accomplishments in aeronautics. In 1959, John Glenn volunteered to become one of the original 7 astronauts in the Mercury program, the first manned space flight program in the United States. Several years later, he embarked on his famous mission. In February of 1962, he became the first man to orbit the Earth, completing that feat 3 times over. I once asked Senator Glenn what he was feeling. What were you experiencing when you were on top of that rocket, about to be blasted off into space? I asked him if he was afraid. Were you experiencing fear? And he honestly answered yes. He told me that he had spoken with Annie about it, and they had talked long and hard, and that there was a very good chance he wouldn't come back. I think NASA was putting the odds at something like 10 or 15%. He did it anyway. And he did it because it was the right thing for his country. He did it with courage, and he did it with honor. And we are thankful for that show of courage. John Glenn's marvels were not merely limited to aeronautical achievements. Following the end of his career in aeronautics, Ohio was the fortunate benefactor of his public service. Elected in 1974, Senator Glenn served in the U.S. Senate with dignity and honor until retiring in 1999. I don't need to go through an extensive resume of Senator Glenn for all of you. I think the thunder we heard earlier is the Lord's way of telling me to make it quick. But he is a true embodiment of what it is to be an American. And he's given us all great pride having hailed from this area. And as a freshman member of Congress, I look to Senator Glenn for guidance and as an example. I've confided with him and his wife on matters important to my position, and he has reminded me on more than one occasion, as has Annie, that it's not just about public service, but it's about service to your family as well. And for all his great achievements, he is also a wonderful husband and father. This post office is one that has stood the test of time. for the better part of a century, it has stood as a landmark in one of the central towns of our district. Moreover, the Cambridge Post Office serves the folks of the small town where Senator Glenn was born. And it's the same building in which, as I mentioned earlier, Senator Glenn's distinguished military career began so many years ago. From this point forward, I am very proud of the fact that it will forever bear the name of one that has brought so much inspiration into the lives of the people of Guernsey County, the people of Ohio's 18th District, the state of Ohio, and this great country. Senator Glenn, I thank you for all your service. And prior to that introduction, I would ask our distinguished guests to step forward for the unveiling. Senator, Annie. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you the plaque of the new John Glenn Post Office. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Senator John Glenn.
Thank you, Zach, good friend, and all of you here today, and thank you. It's a great time for us.